Picture a rain-soaked Belgian field, cannons thundering, and the fate of Europe hanging in the balance. On June 18, 1815, the world watched as Napoleon Bonaparte, the man who had dominated Europe for over 2 decades, faced his ultimate reckoning at Waterloo. For 23 years, France and its rivals were locked in a relentless cycle of war, revolution, and shifting alliances. Napoleon, once a young artillery officer from Corsica, had risen to become Emperor of the French, reshaping nations and crowning himself in glory. But after a disastrous campaign in Russia and defeat by a coalition of European powers, he was exiled to Elba-Only to escape and return triumphantly to Paris in 1815, igniting the 100 Days. Napoleon's return sent shockwaves through Europe. The great powers, Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia quickly formed the Seventh Coalition, determined to end his reign for good. As Napoleon marched north to confront his enemies, the Duke of Wellington's British-led forces and Marshal Blucher's Prussian army advanced to meet him in Belgium. The stage was set for a battle that would decide the fate of an empire. Napoleon was a master of strategy, famed for his speed and daring. Yet at Waterloo, he faced formidable opponents. Wellington, known for his defensive brilliance, and Blucher, relentless and fiercely loyal to his men. The night before the battle, torrential rain turned the fields to mud, delaying Napoleon's attack and giving the Allies precious time to prepare. Some say this mud was the first sign that fate was turning against the emperor. At dawn, Napoleon's 73,000 troops faced Wellington's 68,000, with the Prussians still some distance away. The French opened with a massive artillery barrage, shaking the ground and nerves alike. Infantry columns surged forward, clashing with British and Allied troops holding strong defensive positions. Behind ridges and farmhouses like Hougoumont and La Haye-Sainte. Throughout the morning, the French pressed hard, but Wellington's lines bent without breaking. As the sun climbed higher, Marshal Ney led a series of dramatic cavalry charges, sabers flashing, hoping to break the British squares. Yet the Allied infantry stood firm, repelling wave after wave. Meanwhile, Napoleon anxiously awaited news of the Prussians, hoping his own reinforcements would arrive first. By mid-afternoon, the tide began to turn. The Prussian army, battered but determined, arrived on Napoleon's right flank, threatening to encircle the French. Napoleon threw his elite imperial guard into the fray, the very symbol of his power and invincibility. As they advanced, the battlefield fell silent. Everyone knew this was the final gamble. But the Guard, for the first time in history, faltered. British troops rose from behind the ridge and unleashed devastating volleys. The Guard broke and retreated, and cries of "La Garde recule," "the Guard retreats," spread panic through the French ranks. As dusk fell, the French army collapsed into chaos. Napoleon, once the master of Europe, was forced to flee the field, his dreams of renewed glory shattered. Wellington and Blucher met late that evening, their armies battered but victorious. The Battle of Waterloo was over, and with it, an era of war and empire. Why did Napoleon fall? Overconfidence, exhaustion, and the sheer determination of his enemies all played their part. The mud that slowed his artillery, the timely arrival of the Prussians, and the iron discipline of Wellington's troops combined to defeat a legend. Waterloo proved that even the greatest leaders are not invincible, and that history can hinge on a single day's decisions. Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo didn't just end a battle. It ended an age of revolution and conquest, ushering in nearly a century of relative peace in Europe. The echoes of cannon fire faded, but the lessons of Waterloo still resonate: ambition, your resilience, and the unpredictable turn of fate.